Listen to Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome, Level A1, Oxford Reading University.
One night, the three men smoked together in Jay's London apartment. They talk about their fear of becoming sick. Jay had learned about diseases at the British Museum. He thinks that he has every disease in the world except housemaid's knee. The men decide that a vacation will be good for their health. They decide to spend a week sailing on a boat on the Thames with their dog, Montmorency. The men are getting ready for the trip. They decide to take a cover for the boat so that they can sleep in it because they don't want to take a tent or stay in hotels. They make a long list of things to take. Then the men understand that they should take the necessary things only. Although they are friends, Jay doesn't like Harris. Jay compares him to Jay's stupid uncle, Podger. They take some food, clothes, a cover for the boat, and a spirit stove for cooking. It takes a long time for them to gather everything because they can't remember all the things they need. The men wake up late on the morning they are going to leave. Then they can't understand which train they need to get to Kingston, where they are planning to start their journey. Finally, the journey begins. Jay describes some local places, including Hampton Court and some pubs in which Queen Elizabeth had dinner. Harris tells a story about getting lost in the hedge maze at Hampton Court. Jay says that it irritates him when women wear boating clothes that are too delicate to get wet. George leaves the group to do some work for his boss in Shepperton. Harris wants to visit a cemetery to see an interesting tombstone, but Jay doesn't agree. He thinks that this place is too sad. Harris tries to get some whiskey and falls into a food hamper. Jay and Harris stop to have lunch on the riverbank. They meet a man who starts to argue with them. Harris is a large man. He scares the visitor and they continue the journey. Then, Jay tells some funny stories. In these stories, he and Harris act like fools at the parties. Harris is singing a comic song, and Jay is pretending to speak German. Jay describes some local interesting places, and then two men meet George in Shepperton. The men have a tasty dinner and sleep in the boat. The next morning, they wake up early. George tells Jay a story about starting his day at 3 a.m. because he forgot to wind his watch. Later that morning, Jay falls into the water and Harris can't make scrambled eggs. As they pass Magna Charta Island, Jay describes a peasant's life when the Magna Carta was signed. When the men pass Datchet, they talk about an earlier trip. All the inns were full there, and they had to sleep at a local's house. That night, they sleep at an inn in Marlow. Montmorency chases a large cat, but is too scared to attack it. The next day, they pass more historical places, including Bisham Abbey. There is no drinking water there. The men are disgusted when a local lockkeeper suggests that they drink from the river. Harris falls off the edge of a gulch when he tries to eat supper. The next evening, they cook Irish stew, and George plays the banjo. He is a beginner, and his music is so awful that Harris and Jay ask him not to play for the rest of the trip. George and Jay go for some drinks in the town of Henley that night and get lost on their way back. Then they find Harris asleep in the boat. He explains that he moved the boat because angry swans attacked him. Jay describes some mistakes that he and George had made when they first learned to row. The men pass through Reading without trouble. Jay gives them a short history of the town. As they come into Goring, they see a woman's body in the water. They later learn that she drowned herself. She had a child and was unable to take care of him. The men try to wash their clothes in the Thames. Their clothes become very dirty. That night, they drink at a pub in Wallingford. They notice a large fish on the wall. All of the visitors say that they have caught this fish themselves. George drops it, and the men realize that it is not real. The friends continue their way toward Oxford. There they plan to turn around and row back toward London. Jay tells a story. He and George were rowing. Then they fell into the water and ruined a professional photographer's pictures. After the story, Jay describes Dorchester, Clifton, and Abingdon, and the grave of a man who was a father of 197 children. They managed to pass a difficult river near Oxford and spend 2 days there. Jay stops the story and warns readers not to rent a boat in Oxford because they are very bad there. On the way back from Oxford, it rains terribly. The men are cold and wet. They soon decide to spend the rest of the trip at an inn. That night, they enjoy a tasty supper. They are happy to leave the boat. Montmorency agrees with them and barks.
If you're not subscribed to our channel, you'll probably miss our new audiobooks. Join our community right now and get notifications when the new English stories are out. And now, here's another free audiobook for you.